Hi guys, my name is Kaecy and I'm a singer-songwriter from Pretoria, South Africa. And I'm here to talk about my new album, my new upcoming album titled These Songs Are About Him. This is my second studio album since I released my first album called So Beautiful in 2017. So this is actually my second studio album. So I have 21 questions from somebody, and I'm gonna try and answer them in less than 21 minutes. Okay, what was the initial inspiration behind this album? Well, I think the title of the album says it all. These songs are about him, and I've been getting a lot of people asking who him is, and him is mostly me, but in different stages of my life. There's a hymn that refers to the little boy that needed to be fetched from my childhood, some of the experiences that happened when I was a child. And then there are also hymns that are addressed who are not me, but are people that I have been with, and the experiences that came from those interactions. So give it a listen and make up your own mind about it. Number 2, how did the creative process differ from your previous projects? Very, very different. I initially wanted a live studio recording, or live instruments, I should say. However, it just was not happening the way that I wanted. So I sort of went into studio with my producer. It was just the two of us, and we invited artists that I like to come and session on the album, which was a lot less stressful, because when I think of how when I recorded my first album, it was very involved. There were a lot of people involved, a lot of backup singers, a lot of other people that contributed. But with this one, even the backup singing I did myself. So I did my own background vocals, and there was one main guy doing the production, and a few people just coming in for to play a little some here and there. So that's how different it was, and I felt it was a lot more honest. It was a lot more peaceful, and a lot more enjoyable. It's easier to deal with yourself instead of a large group of people, because then you have to sort of manage everyone and their expectations and their feelings and their energies. So dealing with just one person really allows you to help me creatively. Did you encounter any specific challenges during the recording process? Oh, absolutely. That was the biggest challenge, was my voice. I found out later. I think I was left with maybe 3 or 4 songs to record, that I had actually recorded the whole album with a sinus infection that could have become permanent or chronic. And the whole time, because we recorded through winter, and I thought that, it's just, the snuffles, it's just cold, it's just this and that, because, I was struggling to reach notes that I would easily hit on stage. So I think the biggest challenge was my voice, but I also counted as a blessing in disguise because it just made the emotion, made the experience that much more raw. It's not as polished as my previous work would be. So I appreciate it. It's made me an honest artist. So yeah, that was my biggest challenge, recording this album. But I'm sure you will love it. Were there any unexpected moments or breakthroughs while working on the album? Yes, yes. One such breakthrough, an unexpected moment, was when I recorded um, Love and Love Again, which is the last track on the album, and it is also the last song I recorded. So I wrote this song, it was actually meant to be on my first album, but because of budget constraints, um, we had to cut it. But I love the song so much, and it speaks about, well, when I wrote it, I had written it to a lover, and I was basically telling them that even though we have broken up, we will meet again and fall in love and love again. But when I was recording the song, um, a different feeling came over me, and it felt like I was actually singing the song to myself. Because sometimes when you are in relationships, you sort of lose yourself, and sometimes you don't even realize when you are losing yourself. And because you have lost yourself, um, you find yourself doing things that you would normally not do. And I felt like, when I was singing the song in studio, I the lyrics resonated so much, um, as something that I had been going through, but with me, not with someone else. And I just remember having so much fun with it because it literally happened as I was recording. That, oh my God, I will meet myself again, and this time it won't be in pain because that's what the lyric says. This time not in pain, but love and love again, love and love again. And as I sang that, it dawned on me that I was singing about myself and not the person that I had initially written the song for. And in the recording, it just doesn't come out loudly. In fact, I don't think the mic captured it, but I sort of chuckle because as I'm singing the song, it is landing differently within me. And I ended up chuckling and, laughing about it because I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, that was the unexpected moment and breakthrough. How did your collaboration with producers or other musicians shape the final sound of the album? Oh, I love this question. As I said, that I worked with a different producer than my first album, but this particular producer, his name is Mpojauke, or composer as he's known, actually worked on my EP, Breaking Rules. And, we did Breaking Rules, um, and I had so much fun. It was very risque, but also very fulfilling in terms of, artistically. And, him allowing me to be in that space where I felt so liberated and I could pretty much push my limits. It made it so easy for me to continue working with him on the album. But also, having other people that he would recommend to come in on the album. It gave it a completely new sound, a sound that a lot of people might not really expect from me. especially if you've listened to my first album, and maybe a few other things that I did after that. But you sort of see or hear the transition in my sound. You know, starting in breaking rules, but solidified in these songs about him. So, um, and that was definitely purely because of Pajalka's vision. Yeah, I really appreciate him. All right, and then what themes or messages are you hoping listeners to take away from the album? Self love is the biggest one. Healing is another big one because you before you move forward, you need to heal from your past traumas or whatever, what have you. So, and the album delves a lot into that. Hence, songs like "Love and Love Again." It came from a place of hurt, but in the end, when I was recording it, it actually turned into a triumphant tune for me. Of course, love. I love writing about love because I am a lover and I love love. So, love is very strong, and it shows up in different forms. It shows up in romantic love, it shows up in self love, it shows up in love for family, love for, so yeah, I think that the overarching theme is love, and it's just broken down into little trinkets of love. All right. The next question: how would you describe the overall genre of this album? I don't like this question. I don't like questions about genre because I feel like they're so limiting. And what is genre anyway? I think people should just make up their own minds on how they feel this album fits into a genre. Um, as someone who has been influenced by a whole lot of different genres, even when I write music, it comes through and it becomes very difficult to sort of box it. So, to answer the question, because I have to, I would say R&B soul, but there are, elements of jazz, there are elements of house, there are elements of funk, there are elements of cabaret, there are elements of gospel, so it really does stretch the mind in terms of genre. So, and I think people should also listen to it with an open mind and not be confined by genre. Okay, thank you. Did you experiment with new instruments, genres, or techniques on this record? Instruments? No, not really. No, not really. Genres? Yeah, definitely. House as a genre. Oh, usually the elements that one would find in house music. So I guess that would be the new instrumentation. So a lot of percussions, which I never really used. So that features, and I guess that's a new instrumentation. Techniques, yeah, there's some new techniques, but I'm not gonna tell you. You'll have to listen, and tell me if you pick it up. Is there a particular track that represents the essence of the album, and why? Yes, there is, and it's the first track. It's called A Bed of Roses. it's exactly, it encapsulates my life, my entire life, and what I wanted to portray in making this album. It starts with from when I was born up to now, acknowledging all the hurt, the traumas, the love, and ending on a triumphant note. So no one is playing a victim here. I think that pain is necessary, but one should not dwell on pain. People should grow from pain. So yeah, I think A Bed of Roses encapsulates beautifully the message of this album. Okay. Question number 10. I hope I'm still like well under 21 minutes. What's the most important sonic or lyrical evolution you see in this album compared to your earlier work? Sonic, even though I did experience some vocal challenges, I do believe that I have matured incredibly vocally, but that also comes with age, and also letting go of certain beliefs about one's voice. I think that as vocalists, we tend to chase high notes and big notes and long notes. So even though there are all of those in this album, I feel like in many, many ways I was liberated from them, and I didn't feel like the song was not complete. I didn't feel like the song was not complete without them. So I am exploring my lower range a lot in this album. I'm exploring, no belting at all in a song. So those are some of the beautiful sonic surprises that you will find. And in terms of, lyrical evolution, I think I became a lot more vulnerable, a lot more honest, which was something that, again, it comes with growth, but also with working on yourself. And I've, since my last album, I did a lot of work, internal work on myself to sort of free myself from a lot of things that were holding me back, especially artistically. So you get all of that in this album, and I'm very, very excited. And also, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to be vulnerable. I'm not afraid to put myself out there. I remember one of the people who played on the album, when they were brought in to play on a few songs, they were like, wow, these songs are personal. Why would you want to put that out there? And I'm like, why wouldn't I want to put it out there? It's the truth, it's my truth, and I'm not afraid of my truth. So it might help someone. Let's put it out there. I'm not defaming anyone. I'm just speaking my truth. So yeah. Lyrics and inspiration. Woo, I'm almost halfway. Okay. What is the lyrical inspiration behind some of the album's standout tracks? What is the lyrical inspiration behind some of the album's standout tracks? Oh, okay. So one of the biggest standout tracks from this album is Baobab, and so one of my favorite lyricists, songwriters is Alicia Keys. Alicia Keys and John Legend, especially his earlier work. But Alicia Keys is really, for me, the way that she writes music, the way that she writes her songs is beautiful. and I've always wanted to tell a story. And in telling a story, you use natural elements like air and the sun and trees, incorporate that into my songwriting. And I feel like in Baobab, I managed to do that. I'm telling a love story, but I'm using all these elements. And I was very chuffed and happy that I was able to do that. So yeah, that's one song to look out for, Baobab, which is my first single from the album. All right, next question. Were any personal experiences, stories, or emotions you've gone through reflected in the music? I've already said this, so it's a straight yes. Enjoy jamming to my heartbreak, jamming to my love moments, happiness. Yeah, definitely. Do you have a favorite lyric from the album, and what does it mean to you? I do. I have so many. But I can't think of one now. Let's see, from Baobab. And I'm sure it's not from Baobab, but I'm gonna quote one from Baobab. Okay, so, oh yes. My favorite lyric from Baobab is, yes, this is so good. Even if I have to say so myself. Do you recall the day in the baobab tree? Oh no, that's not it. It says do you recall the way that you looked at me? You planted a love as big as the baobab tree. Something like that. I'm terrible. I'm terrible with my own lyrics, but that one, I mean, it's like the imagery is just incredible. But another one says, "Do you recall the way that you looked at me? I felt a love as big as the baobab tree." Right? Do you recall? Yeah, that's it. I'm terrible at this, but I definitely wrote the song. So I'll post the lyric the way that I wanted to show when I get time. I can't believe I forgot my own lyrics, but definitely that one. I felt a love as big as the baobab tree. You planted a seed of love and it set me free. Yes. You planted a seed of love. Remember, I made mention of the baobab. I felt a love as big as the baobab tree. Right? I felt a love as big as the baobab tree. And then later on, I say, you planted a seed of love and it set me free. Because honestly, how free are trees? Yes, they are grounded in the soil, but they can grow. I mean, literally, the sky's the limit. They can grow and grow and grow. And I mean, if there's any tree that has shown us how big and tall and long in terms of lifespan it can grow, is the baobab tree. That is a brilliant lyric. I'm sorry. Yeah. Anyway, love it. Collaboration and features. Who are the key collaborators on this album, and how did they influence the final product? So I collaborated with on a song. It's actually not my song. The only song that I didn't write on this album, well, that I didn't compose, I should say, because I composed everything. But on this particular song, I only wrote the lyric, and that is "Walking Out" with a very good friend of mine, NJ Kunene. He composed the song some 12 years ago. And I happened to, no, he actually sent it to me. Um, and I fell in love with the song because it again resonated with what I was going through. And he also happened to be going through the same thing, but for some reason he couldn't finish the song, or maybe just didn't have enough time to. And I wanted to finish the song for him, so I wrote the second verse, and I wrote the bridge. So, Walking Out featuring NJ Kunene. And how did they influence the final product? Beautifully. I love NJ's voice. I love the way he writes. He's also a beautiful, incredible songwriter and composer. And he's got such an incredible, soulful, piercing voice. So when you work with someone like that, you can only, want to give your best. And I think this song is really one of the best on the album. Yeah, loved it. Okay, almost there. What was it like working with featured artists on track? How did the collaboration come about? Okay, I've already sort of touched on it with NJ. Always fun. Never serious. Also, what I learned from NJ, he has he believes in music so much that he doesn't allow the process to be complicated. He doesn't complicate the process. And I think that was one thing that I always struggled with. I wanted everything to be perfect. I wanted, it was serious. I mean, I'm still very serious about it, but I sort of had to be liberated, as I mentioned earlier, that liberated from certain notions. Music is liberating, and it's supposed to be fun and experimental, and working with NJ helped me also, realize. And it's not the first time working together. I think, we've done many shows together. We have also an album, a gospel album that we did together, and a few other friends called We Too Are Called. And I noticed that they noticed it then as well, that he really has an approach to music that that one admires or should admire, and that it shouldn't be complicated. It shouldn't be, it shouldn't be stressful, because it's innate, it's inherent. So you just need to let it out, and voila. So that's what I learned. That was the biggest lesson. Fan connection. Yeah, I don't like the word fans. I prefer supporters, but let's hear. How do you think your fans will react to this album? So the people who have already supported me will appreciate this album because it is a continuation from my first album, but also, there's a lot of evolution. So they'll appreciate the evolution, they'll appreciate the growth, they'll appreciate the new music because they have been waiting, my darling. They've been waiting since, I released my first album in 2017, and it's now 2025. So what? Jesus, 8 years, almost 8 years later. So they will definitely appreciate that there is new music at all. Are there any specific fan reactions or feedback you're particularly excited about? I think people are gonna love Baobab. More so because every time I have performed it, before recording it, it almost always got, an incredible reaction. But the interpretation now is different. It's slightly different. Still the same, but the approach is different. So I can't wait to hear what they say. But also, I think I got a pretty good indication at our listening sessions that we hosted last year in November. That's November 2024. Um, so people reacted beautifully. And I can't wait for everybody else, especially people who couldn't make it to the listening session, how they react. But I'm excited, particularly about that one. Do you have a favorite track on the album that you can't wait for fans to hear live? Ooh, live. Most of these songs have, I mean, 8 years is a long time, and I don't write for an album. I write, So when I write music, sometimes I will perform it. Actually, most of the time I will perform it with my band before even going to studio, because I also feel like a song needs to sort of breathe before you press it. So, oh yes, there is a song that I've never performed live. It went straight from my voice notes to the studio, and that's Break. So I can't wait for fans to hear that one. Another song, I have to think about this. I've already spoken about Baobab, which, um, sure, I think all of them, all of them. They've probably heard all of them, but definitely Break. Um, yeah, yeah. They've never heard Break, so I'm looking forward to have them hear it live. Whew. Okay, the last three questions. We're almost there. Um, what can fans expect from your live shows in support of this album? Production. Production. I have been thinking about this for so long. I have been planning this in my head for so long, and it's not gonna be just a show where I'm just gonna, rock up with a beautiful outfit and a stage and a mic. The mic will be on, but it's going to be a production. That is my promise to you. It's going to be a production. Of course, where the budget allows, right? Yeah, but definitely a production. I want people, my audience, to be drawn in completely, visually, sonically. Um, you know, if I could spray water on them, or I don't know, but it's going to be a production. I can't wait. Are there any new elements, visuals, or concepts you've been incorporating into your? Yes, definitely. Definitely. Hence, I'm saying it's going to be a production. But I'm not gonna, that's all I'm gonna say. I don't wanna spoil it. And the last question, what's next for you after this album release? Any exciting projects or ideas brewing? Guys, I literally have just finished this album. But definitely lots of performances, lots of collaborations, um, visuals. There's a lot in the works. I can't reveal too much. I think you guys will just have to watch the space, pray for me, get someone to give me money so I can do all these things that are in my head. And yeah, and enjoy. All right. Thank you so much. I'm Kaecy, singer-songwriter from Pretoria. And please go and stream my album. These songs are about him. Yeah, and enjoy.